This Week in History.
Three, two, one, zero, and liftoff.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
All right, Johnny. So we just had our regular episode on murdering almost a million pets, and I wish I had some better news for us. Well, sort of. This first one's okay news. It's okay news. So the last member of Adolf Hitler's inner circle, and I use that a little bit lightly, Rudolf Hess, would commit suicide on August 17th, 1987. Shit.
And nothing of value is lost.
Nothing of value was lost. No, although you learn a little bit about this guy, and he's saying he's an inner circle is a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, how
But
so?
buckle up. So, and of course, also by last known because, well, conspiracy theories, Adolf Hitler got off to Argentina and he didn't actually kill himself, along with all the other high members of the Nazi Party. And any day now, they're going to rise up and have the, Third or Fourth Reich.
Well, I mean, Tom, that's a little bit ridiculous because everybody knows that he wasn't ready for the Fourth Reich, and so he had himself frozen while he was down in Argentina. And it's actually going to happen, and he's going to do it for the 100th year anniversary. And so we're about 18 years away or so.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll see what happens. Hopefully, they'll still be alive then to see Frozen Hitler coming out. I guess maybe we'll see what happens. Anyways, Rudolf Hess, he was the deputy Führer to Hitler from 1933 to 1941. He was born in Egypt, so way to go,
What?
Aryan purity. Yeah, right.
Did they make him get a vasectomy or something so he couldn't propagate the gene? He's like, all right, you're a good dude. You can kill all the right people for me. That's fantastic. Don't want your genes in the pool anymore though, so we're gonna have to take care of that.
He attempted, and this is where I say it's a little bit stretch to call him, inner circle. By 1941, he was ousted from his position, and he thought at this point it would be a good idea to try to open up peace talks with Britain because, well, the Battle of Britain wasn't going as well as Germany thought. They thought they could just take over Britain and force them to surrender with a couple of bombs. But damn it, Johnny, the British are resilient and they murder pets instead, so they fought through the Battle of Britain successfully.
Wait, hold up. You're trying to tell me that a country hell-bent on dominating the entire earth was a little bit overzealous with what they thought a country would put up as far as defenses go?
Which that country was also hell-bent on dominating the whole earth a few years before. So you've got two countries that are hell-bent on dominating the whole earth going up against each other, and you think one of them's going to back down?
Yeah, you say
easily?
A few years before, but it really was for the past 700 years. I don't even know. That's probably more that England was going around claiming territories.
So Rudolf Hess would hop in a plane, try to fly to Scotland because he thought that the king was against Churchill, and if he had a conversation with the king would oust Churchill, would surrender to Germany, the war would be over, and Germany could move on to Russia.
Wait, the king of Scotland?
England.
So went to Scotland, talked to the King of England.
That was his goal.
Okay, so his plan, but he was going to go talk to the King of England, be like, you know what, this guy who's actually running the country because the King and Queen are a figurehead is bad, and we want him out, and he thought that would work?
Yes.
So he thought power was in the wrong place, basically.
Yes. Yeah. He wrote it, and he gave a letter to one of his aides to give to Hitler, because he did this without Hitler's approval, and Hitler read that letter and said, that fucker is crazy. Which coming from Hitler is big. So he told all of the government, if this guy so much as steps foot back in Germany, kill him because he's a traitor, and make sure the public knows that this guy's batshit crazy. Well, his plane gets shot down, Johnny, and he doesn't quite make it to Scotland. He gets arrested. He gets sent to the Tower of London, where he tries to kill himself by jumping over the railings of the staircase in the Tower of London in 1942, which he fails at.
Wait, okay. I'm sorry to but I got to try to digest all this. He got shot down in a plane.
Yes.
Did they know it was? So they just knew it was a German plane, right? They didn't know he was in it. So he got shot down in a plane, became a POW, got brought into a camp, tried to commit suicide by jumping over a railing after having crash landed in a plane.
Yes,
Still alive.
still alive, still ticking.
I mean, at this point, like, what terrible luck, right?
Right. Well, and the war would end in 1945, and I'm sure he was thinking, well, I was trying to create peace with Britain, so surely I'm not going to be tried as a and I'm tried as a war criminal.
Shoot. Funny how that happens.
Well, shit.
Did he try to like explain himself to the guards? And they're like, he's like, "Good, I promise. I was coming over here on my plane. Only it was all in German, probably.
Yeah, yeah.
I was coming over here on my plane, and then I crashed. I don't know what happened.
I was trying to make the peace, but you wouldn't listen. Well, he would. Long story short, he would be sentenced to life in prison at Spandau Prison in Germany.
Oh,
Which is better than-
man,
which is
they sent
better
him back to
than most-
Germany.
It's better than a lot of Germans got, though. I mean, a lot of them were.
I mean, is it though? Is it really? Like,
no,
all right,
well,
you
no, he
take
should
your
have been.
pick.
I mean, but
Shoot you. I can shoot you in the head, or I can put you in a 10-by-10 cell for the rest of your life. Take your pick.
well, he would wind up killing himself, Johnny, in said prison, in what was called the summer house, which was a part of the prison garden and was like basically a shed in the prison garden that was set up as a reading room. So it doesn't sound like it was really that awful of a prison if it's got a garden and a reading room. But
Did he kill himself much in the way Epstein killed himself?
well, and so this is the thing.
Or
The guy's 93 years old. So allegedly, he took a cord from a lamp, wrapped it around his neck, threw it up over a windowsill, and hung himself.
not at 93.
But at 93. So the guy didn't kill himself for 40 years and then just decided at 93, I'm done with this.
Okay, counter argument. All of the prison wardens didn't kill him for 40. It sounds to me like this dude he's 93. He just died. He's old.
What happened to be with a lamp cord around his neck?
I mean,
he was probably reaching over to try to turn the lamp on. Tripped and fell and got it wrapped around his neck.
Like, I've seen 93-year-olds move. The coordination's not there.
No, it's certainly not. Well, that's the first thing I got for you, Johnny. The next thing I got is 6 witches, and I'm using my quotation marks here.
God, what? Ugh.
I told you it wasn't great news. 6 witches would be hung in Salem, Massachusetts on August 19th, 1692, which is a part of the famous Salem witch trials.
We have to do a Salem witch episode.
We most
Holy
definitely will.
shit.
We most definitely will.
That whole thing.
If you're sitting at home and you want a brief overview, if you're not familiar with what the Salem witch trials were, very, very brief overview. The Reverend's daughter and niece in Salem were having unexplained fits of screaming and uncontrolled movements and all kinds of crazy things, like epileptic seizures kind of stuff.
It sounds like they might have had epilepsy.
Which is probably partly what it might have been. The girls began blaming others in the village for their behavior, saying that they were being, what is that?
Possessed.
Possessed. Thank you, Johnny. They were being possessed by the spirit of these other villagers. They first start off by accusing John Proctor's child of the possession, and that's a little odd because John Proctor was famously a part of several feuds that were going on in the city, including land feuds, and also was not a fan of the Reverend himself. So I'm sure that there was no ulterior motive by the Reverend to tell his daughters to accuse the Proctor family of witchcraft.
Tommy, I don't know what
whatever.
you're getting at, but I'm going to stop you right there because it sounds to me like the problem might be that this dude's daughter is possessed and she is making it so he has all these problems. Like,
he might have been. He might have been.
How many good Christian men without witches as daughters were having issues within the city? That's what you got to ask yourself.
Well, Johnny, and this whole thing going, I think it was from like February all the way up through March was when the trials were going on. 200 people would be accused of witchcraft. Other girls in the village began mimicking the behavior of these two, of the daughter and the niece. 30 people would be convicted, 19 would be hanged, one would be pressed to death. And by pressed to death, I mean they would lay him out and he'd be
Yep.
tied down on the ground, and they
Right.
would put progressively heavier stones onto him to encourage him to confess to his witchcraftery.
Well, as we as a people, as a nation, have learned, torture only gets you to say the things that people want you that you want those people to say.
Yeah.
People will admit to anything under torture. It's a good thing that we took this lesson from the Salem witch trial and never had another instance where we were torturing people, getting them to confess to the things that they didn't do.
Yeah, it never
That,
happened again.
I think, we can put a feather in
Al-
our cap in as Americans.
Although this particular guy did not confess to it and was pressed to death
Oh.
and died.
Well,
And at least 5 more would die in jail. So yay, Salem witch trials. We will do a full episode on this probably in the very near future.
I've been to the to Salem, into like the graveyard. Salem's a cool city.
Me and the wife were talking about going there maybe in a couple
Worth
of
a
months.
trip. It's
Yeah.
worth a trip. I mean that.
Well,
I
we're
mean,
talking about going there around
Boston in
Halloween, yeah.
general's cool, and but the Salem, like we went to the graveyards and all that stuff, and it's very neat.
Yeah, we're talking about going. That's why when I saw this, I was like, I have to talk about this. Now, through historical records, like I said, we did know that there was a ton of feuds going on, and it was ironic that a lot of these people who were in those feuds against the Reverend got accused, including Proctor and his entire family.
Coincidental.
Coincidentally, and like I said, it was not a secret that he was not a fan of the Reverend. Weird. On August 19th, 5 of these convicted would be hanged, of which was Martha Carrier, George Jacobs, George Burroughs, John Willard, and John Proctor. Weird.
Okay.
All of which would be hanged because they would not confess. Yeah, of these 30, like I said, 30 were convicted. Of those 30, 19 were hung. The ones that weren't hung and didn't die by pressing or dying in jail would confess to their witchcraft. So certainly the witches must be real, because why would an innocent person confess?
It's an embarrassing John moment. I had no idea that men were put to death in the Salem witch trials.
Most of them are women. I think it was like 14 women, and a couple of men.
But even so, like, it wasn't the Warlock trials. I always pictured it as an attack on just women in general. Like, oh, she's getting too uppity, or she's getting too progressive, or she's starting to feel like she has some sort of power or something, or whatever, and we have to kill her. I didn't know that men had also died during this. And
Yep.
also, that makes it seem way more like it's just, oh, we're getting rid of people that disagree with me. Because
Yep.
if it was all just women, I'd be like, all right, they're all just a bunch of idiots. They don't understand women, and so they think that they're evil and they're going to kill them. I get that, because women weren't people then. They're barely people now.
No, these were men.
But yeah, this was just some vendetta against some folk in the town. and
Yeah.
they
Oh,
decided
the
to-
guy who was pressed to death, so I believe was Giles Corey. So another man that was killed in this whole process as well. Yep. And their favorite. This is the one real quick. We'll jump into this and then we'll jump real quick off of it because I don't want to spoil too much for the actual Salem witch trial. But during the trials, there was my favorite test, which was called the touch test. And what it basically meant is if one of the children that was having one of these seizures, if the accused would come up to them and touch them and the seizure would stop, then they're the witch.
What? Okay,
So if you have ulterior motive, if I'm faking a seizure and I have accused you, Johnny, of being a witch, and I'm faking the seizure, and you come up and touch me, of course I'm going to stop if that's all it takes for you to be found guilty.
Right, no, I get that, but why on earth wouldn't witch, who is presumably you're mad at her because she's some sort of evil,
Yes.
and so you have somebody having an epileptic seizure or being possessed or whatever, and the witch comes up and stops that, why is the witch evil in that case?
Johnny,
Seems like they're helping.
it's
the folk.
1692 logic. Ask yourself about some of the stuff that's going on today in logic.
Yeah, I heard you say 1692, and I'm like, Tommy, don't talk to me about how it wasn't good back then, because it's no better now.
It certainly isn't. Well, in popular culture, this has been played over and over again. There's been movies, there's been plays, but my favorite one is the play The Crucible by Arthur Miller, which was put on in 1953 at first. And Arthur Miller, well, he was big and popular during the McCarthy trials, where McCarthyism was running rampant, and it's basically what's known as the Second Red Scare, where everybody thought everybody was a communist and accusing everybody of being a communist, and you'd be brought up in front of a committee called the Un-American Activities Committee.
Gosh, what's another thing we might call that, where we're just hunting for a bunch of people that don't exist? A witch hunt, maybe?
Witch hunt, yeah.
Oh, how about that?
Well, there was actually a Jewish German playwright by the name of Leon Feuchtwanger, who was accused of being a left-wing communist with his play, The Devil in Boston, which was about the Salem witch trials. So Arthur Miller thought, I've got friends that are being accused of being communists that aren't communist and have no reason to be accused of it. So the balls on this guy to go, I'm going to intentionally write a play to make fun of McCarthyism, and we'll call it The Witch Trials or The Crucible.
Huh.
And it'll be fine, right?
This might be one of the earliest forms of like recorded satire.
It might be, because it is clear, like when you watch The Crucible or you read The Crucible, which again, this is one of my favorite plays.
Yeah, I've not seen it. I'll have to check it out.
It is the most. The movie's not bad. It's got
I mean, that's all I'm watching. Like, I'm not gonna go see it.
It's got Daniel Day-Lewis in it, and it's got
Sure.
Who's that chick? Winona Ryder. Yeah, she was hot from the 90s.
Maybe I can't put names with faces. So
the chick from Beetlejuice, the
blonde one.
No, the daughter, the girl.
Oh, okay, all right, gotcha.
The ones that befriends Beetlejuice, the little gothic one.
Yep,
gotcha. And in real life, she's a little.
Yeah.
I mean, crazy does it. Any case, he does himself have the play. It is a success. It's a hugely popular play, and he is also brought in front of the Committee of Un-American Activities in 1966, and he is convicted of contempt of Congress because he wouldn't give a list of names of the people that he attended communist meetings with. He didn't attend communist meetings. The guy wrote a fucking play making fun of your committee, and so you convicted him of contempt of Congress because he wouldn't name names of people who did nothing wrong.
Or who didn't exist.
And I'm sorry, there's a thing called the First Amendment. Even if they did attend a Communist Party meeting, it's not illegal.
Yeah. Well, also, is it like, there's another amendment. Is it the Fifth Amendment or is that silence? But there's one where you're allowed to not incriminate yourself or something like that.
Well, that's the fifth, but that's for yourself. You can't incriminate yourself.
Just yourself. Okay, that didn't. Okay.
Or if you're married, you can't be compelled to testify against your spouse.
There you go. All
so,
right,
Johnny. If
so
Ashley
it didn't apply,
somebody,
but I knew a vague sort of amendment that existed somewhere. Look at that. That's history.
That's history. And on a side note, the reason why this brings up a lot of joy for me and the reason why I had to do it is I was John Proctor in my 2002 high school's production of The Crucible. So that's another reason why it's one of my favorite plays, because I was John Proctor. Because it is mine at the whole end. Oh, God, the end of that play is great. It's a little slow, but the end of it's great when he's all like, he's got a...
Is the star of the play in the end of it? Is John Proctor?
John Proctor is the star. I mean, I think like on the screenplay, or not screenplay, but on the actual script, he like doesn't appear on like 8 pages of the whole play. It was like something stupid, like 600 lines or something like that. It was ridiculous. And I'm sure I got half the lines wrong and whatever, because I'm not really a great actor, but whatever.
Well, yeah, but you know the number of people that cared.
But you do not makeouts, but there were kissing scenes with his wife. There were kissing scenes with Abigail Warren, who is the mistress.
All right.
And I was also dating, what was the name of that character? Mary Warren. I was dating the girl who played Mary Warren. So like every day I was making out with like 3 different chicks for like
get after it, Tommy.
It was like the highlight of my life, and it's gone downhill since
it's like
then.
It's prostitution without pain, Tommy. That's great.
It was great. And that, guys, I hope it ended on a little bit higher note from what we started and what the main episode was, but that is This Week in History.
And that's This Week in History.